How's it going, everyone? Welcome to the first ever. I think we're going to call it the Bongo Ramble. The Bongo Ramble. I used to listen to a podcast years ago called the Football Ramble. Very heavily into football, or for the American soccer. And yeah, it was a bunch of guys chatting about football, and it was a good old podcast. And let's face it, I do like to ramble, so I'm kind of stealing their name, replacing football with bongo. But I think it fits. I don't really have a coherent message and a very structured approach to talking about things, and I do like to ramble quite a lot. So we'll go with the bongo ramble. We'll go with the bongo ramble. But thank you for coming. Thank you for joining, chilling out with us. It's very much going to be I'm going to sit back in my chair. I'm going to have a drink of alcohol. I have some nice cider with me. And I'm going to relax and I'm going to just spew and vomit all of the thoughts out from my brain on a weekly basis. I want to say I have like in my head, I'm committing to a weekly basis, but I know how bad I am with keeping, deadlines and keeping up regular content. So I would like to do it weekly. And I would like for you guys to know, okay, at this time on this day is when he is going to upload some content. So I can grab a drink and I can chill out and I can download it or whatever. So that's the plan. That's the plan. I've got some lovely inches cider with me. It's very appley. So, which is good for a cider, I guess. But I normally drink. I'm not a beer guy, so I very much am a bit of a wimp when it comes to beers. I'm one of those ones where I'm like, it's too icky. It's strong, I'm a bit of a, alpha males would look at me with disgust. I guess I like cider. I'm a cider guy. I like that appley taste. I like the bubbles. I like the bubbles of the apples. So I'm a cider guy. And I've never really been a big drinker, really. I mean, at one Christmas, my uncle got me a bottle of, I think it was bourbon. It was one of those really strong drinks, like bourbon and whiskeys and all shit like that. And yeah, he was, oh, you're a man now. It was like my 18th birthday or something. So, oh, you're a man now. You're going to drink that. And I don't think I drank it. I don't think I drank any of it because I was just like, this is going to taste yucky. It's going to taste yucky. So I'm not a real man when it comes to alcohol or shots or anything like that, really. I'm not really a strong alcohol guy. I know what I like and I stick to it. When we went to South Africa, so we went to Cape Town, and then we went to Kruger. So Kruger is like Kruger National Park. It's where you get to do all the safari, you get to see all the animals, and they have camps within the national park. So the national park is a huge area. I think it's like the size of Wales or something. It's huge, and you drive in, and there's different lodges within the national park, and you have to pay to get into the parks. But one of the shops, well, all of the shops really, but one of the shops had a drink called Amarula. And I don't know if you know what that is, but that is the fucking shit. It is so good. It's like kind of like a Bailey's texture, like a liqueur, like a creamy liqueur, but it's so good. It's so good. And they had a new one that they brought out recently called the Royal Rhino. We went there in January, and they had one called the Royal Rhino, and it was a bit more coffee-ish, which I liked. My wife didn't like it as much. She preferred the Amarula. My daughter tried it, which is illegal, I know, but she tried a little bit, and she preferred the Amarula, and so did my wife's parents. They preferred the Amarula, but the Royal Rhino was the shit, man. And Amarula, if you can get it in the UK in like Tesco's or Sainsbury's or wherever, but Amarula, like that creamy liqueur stuff, that's my jam. Cider and creamy liqueurs. So if you was ever wondering how much of a man is Dread, there you go. There you go. So I'm happy for you to be here. That's a little insight into what this is going to be like. It's going to be a lot of just relaxing, chilling back, I'm gonna have a bit of water there. And just relaxing and kind of just going with the flow. I have, you know, been in this space for a while, so I guess for a lot of people who don't know really much about me, and we'll get into a little something that happened that was funny the other day that happened on Twitter, in relation to quant. But so yeah, a little bit about me, I guess, if you don't really know who I am. I've been in the space since 2017. I have some knowledge of what I'm doing, I guess. I like to think that I understand a little bit more about what I am now and who, what kind of things I'm good at, what kind of things I'm bad at. Um, but I guess a little bit of a backstory. I kind of spoke about this I was on Moonifier's podcast called Free Alpha about 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, and I spoke a little bit about this. But if in case you didn't catch it, I'll talk about it here. If you did catch it, then you're going to hear it again, or you can pause or fast forward. It doesn't matter. So yeah, 2017 is when I really got into the space. I didn't really know what I was doing, much like everyone. And I understand that there's a lot of newcomers that are going to be listening to stuff like this. So you'll kind of sympathize with this approach. A lot of people when they first get into the space just have very little idea what they're doing. It's so much to learn, and you feel like you have such a short amount of time to do it because everything's moving so quickly. And where do you start? And what's the right thing to do? What's the wrong thing to do? And I'm kind of doing that now with macro. So I'm really getting into the macro scene because I started my whole financial journey in 2017. I didn't know anything about anything. I only really knew what money was. Like, yeah, okay, you spend it. That's pretty much it. I didn't really know much about mortgages or interest rates or anything like that. So crypto was my first exposure to a lot of it. And I'm really getting into the macro scene now because I did not have a lot of experience and I did not understand a lot of it. So a lot of the terms they were using, didn't understand it. A lot of the reasons why things were moving certain ways, didn't understand it. So I've been really delving deep into the macro scene, and I understand how a lot of people getting into crypto scene are feeling right now, because when you get into the macro, you feel lost as well. And there's so much, and you start researching one thing and it leads you onto a tangent of a different thing you need to then learn. And there's just so much to learn, and different sayings and different terms and definitions. And what does this mean? What the fuck does that mean? And crypto was very much like that for me in 2017. I didn't know anything. I knew I'd heard about Bitcoin. But I didn't even know what Ethereum was. I didn't know anything. So 2017 was my first exposure. I got into it. Decided to try and understand a little bit about trading. So I did a trading tutorial. I think it was Data Dash, might have been the guy. And yeah, just joined some Discord groups, started buying, investing into stuff. And I remember I was doing a thing called match betting at the time, and I had money in match betting, and I'd put like 50 to £100 into crypto in like mid 2017. And I was just, messing about, and it went up a little bit. And I was like, wow, I'm rich. I've made like £25. This is amazing. And it went towards the end. It went until towards the end of 2017 because I was going away. So we was going to America at the time. And I was just very heavily into crypto. Like I was very heavily into to the research side of it. I was like, this is so fucking exciting, because 2017 was just bombastic and mental. And you felt like you was on this roller coaster and you just clinging on for dear life. Like, where the fuck is this going? I don't know, but I don't care because this is exciting. So the end of 2017, I decided to take all the money I had from match betting and I put it into crypto. And it was £500 at the time. And I was just like, I went away because I wanted to put it in before I went away so I could keep an eye on it on holiday. And I went away and I never looked back. The money never came out. It stayed in from that point on. And it was exciting, man. It was so exciting. But I didn't have a fucking clue what I was doing. I had no idea what I was doing. And I was just along for the ride. I was just clinging on for dear life. And I remember being on holiday and watching the whole Bitcoin Cash flippening of Bitcoin, where Bitcoin Cash got pretty close to flipping Bitcoin at one point. It was climbing, and everyone was saying like, it was the whole Segwit stuff at the time, and I was so like, this is so exciting, but I don't know what's happening. I don't really understand it at all. And 2017 was my first exposure to crypto. And like everyone who enters in a bull market, you feel like a genius, you know? You feel like I am on top of the world and I have figured out how to crack life. Like I have cracked life. How people should live, this is the new way. And in 2017, that was what a lot of people felt like when they first got into it. And I met a lot of them. We all got in it, around the same time. And then 2018 hits. And I made a good amount of money in 2017, going into 2018. I've said this before, but I largely sold the top and put it into my bank account because my wife told me to. Not because if it was down to me, that money would have stayed in. But my wife told me, look, we need to spend some of this money because this is more money than we've ever had. It was like $3,000 or something like that. So we took a lot of the money out because my wife, so she's the real trader of the family. She makes all the decisions. I just take the credit, but whenever I'm like, should I take profit? I just go, babe, do I take profit? And she comes in, looks, and she goes, nah, hold on for a bit. And I'm like, yeah, we should hold on for a bit. She makes the real decisions, and she contradicts. I contradict everything she says. So 2018 came, 2018 hit. We took a good amount of money out, but we left like double the money I had. So we left like $1,000 in, I think it was, in 2018. And it was exciting, man. And then it turns out that things don't last forever. It turns out that things get pretty shit in crypto for a while. And 2018 was just getting shit on every day for like 9 months. It was because like back then it wasn't, I didn't really even understand like, oh, you could put your money into stable coins. I didn't even know really, I can't remember if stable coins were even a thing back then. But it was like, I didn't know to put my money into stable coins. I was just like, well, I've got to be invested into something, I could put it into my bank account, but that's a hassle. So what do I do? And I just left them in projects and kept trying to cycle. And I remember being like, oh, I'm going to put it into Cardano because everyone's talking about Cardano now. I could have bought Cardano when it was, I think it was 4 cents. That might be wrong, but I seem to remember it was 4 cents and it was 2017. A friend told me about Cardano. Well, not a friend, but someone in the Discord group told me about Cardano. And they said that this is going to be huge. And it was between that and a project called Wabi. Wabi, I think. It was like some Chinese, it was something to do with milk, like baby's milk, like RFID tags on baby's formula. And I chose to put it in that rather than Cardano. And I regretted it ever since because Cardano wanted to be one of the most valuable projects in the space. And I don't know where Wabi is right now. But that's the sort of decision making I was doing in 2017. So 2018 was, it was very brutal. And it was like the reality check that, you can make a lot of money and be an idiot in a bull market. But if you're an idiot in a bear market, you will get crushed and you'll get absolutely humbled. And your body will not be able to cope with it because you'll just be crumbling in the corner like, what is going wrong? Why is this happening to me? And the world comes crumbling down. And you get absolutely humbled. And that's what happened in 2018. And it was a tough time, man. Like I remember because we had been in 2017, we'd gone down to the south of England, like on the south, and we were by the seaside. And my wife's dad had a holiday home down there, and he lived back where we are now, near London. And but he had a holiday home, and he needed someone to run it. So we moved down there to help run this holiday home. And we were down there for a year in 2017, and that's why things felt so amazing in mid 2017 because it was like we'd moved down there. We were helping to run this thing, and I didn't really have a job at the time, and I was trying to do a lot of side hustle stuff. and I found the crypto, obviously. So we was by the seaside and we were doing this thing, and it felt like, oh my god, we've cracked it. We've cracked it. How to get out of the rat race of, jobs. And I'd given up my job to do it, go down there and everything. So it was exciting. It felt great. Then obviously 2018 came. So we were down there still, but things had started to get very depressing. We were losing money just because the bear market hit, and we had this is like the first couple of months, so it wasn't even that bad, but we were losing money, and we started to get really kind of lonely. Like it was me, my wife, and my daughter, little Bongo, and we were down south, and we was away from everyone, and we kept going back and forth every 2 weeks. We kept going back to near London and then moving back down south, and then every 2 weeks we would do that journey. We would see family, and we would stay on families. We had a mattress that we would get out at my dad's, at my wife's nan's house, and a mattress that we would get out at my wife's mum's house. So we would alternate it. We would stay on mattresses on the floor it was only for a couple of nights, so it was fine. So we would do that every couple of weeks. But we started to notice that every time we went back down south, we were getting sad that we were leaving. We weren't looking forward to going back, and we were getting sad that we were leaving. And it turned out, and then the winter hits down. When you're down south and you're by the seaside, it's amazing in the summer because obviously you're by the seaside and you get to swim in the sea and the sun's nice and everyone's happy. But when winter hits, it's like brutal because not only is it cold, but you're by the sea and the wind and the drizzle, and it's so depressing. You can't really go out unless you just got, the gear to handle it, I guess. So we got really kind of depressed down there in the winter time, and obviously losing money after that did not help, and we really started missing home. So we decided that we were gonna maybe come back. So we came back, and we didn't have anywhere to stay. So we moved in with my mum, my wife's mum, who only had a 1-bedroom flat. She only had a 1-bedroom flat at the time. And we moved in with her, and we had a mattress she had a mattress on her bed, and then she had a spare mattress underneath the bed that we would pull out when we would stay every time we'd come back and forth. So we would pull that out, we'd put it in the living room, and me, my wife, and my daughter would sleep on the mattress. And then in the morning we'd wake up and we'd push it back under the bed. And we all lived in this small 1-bedroom flat for 5 or 6 months, I think it was. And the whole time I was trying to trade and scalp and survive a bear market. And it was tough, like really tough, because I didn't really know what I was doing. And I was trying to do the same things I was doing in the bull market, which was just not working anymore. And I felt like a real failure. There was one moment that I felt that it was that kind of rock bottom for me, because wow, this got really depressing really quick, didn't it? That kind of snuck up on us, because we were just talking about where I started, and now this got really depressing. So I'm sorry about that, guys, but that's what rambling does to you guys. You just kind of you go off on the path, and you don't know where you're going to end up, but there we go. So yeah, I remember the time that it was like kind of rock bottom, because my wife, my daughter, and her mum were out, and I was at home, and I was trying to do my thing, and I was scalping. So scalping's like super high risk, and I don't recommend anyone ever do it. But you would take like, I don't know, let's just say you got like £1,000 portfolio, $1,000 portfolio. You would take like 90% of that, put it into a position, and you would try and get in and out very quickly. So you would try and put it in, and then you'd hope things that go up like a couple of percent, and then you get out. Very high risk. And I was doing that. And I put it in, and I remember, I think it was Binance Coin. And I put it in, and it it broke out. So the move had broke out. I wanted to jump in. It was a momentum trade, and I was going to get out within two or 3 minutes and try and make a couple of percent or whatever it was. And then I got in, and it was like all of my position, and there was a power cut. So the power just went out, and I'm sitting there at the computer, and I'm just like, I don't know what the fuck to do. I don't know what to do. My phone was out of battery. The computer was off. And I was just like, I can't even charge my phone. So I'm sitting there, and the power comes on after about 6 or 7 minutes. So I load my computer up, and it felt like the computer took 20 minutes to load up for some reason. And then I turn it on. I log in, get the website up and running, and price has crashed. Price just crashed back down. And I didn't lose loads of money, but it was enough to really hurt, because that was like weeks and weeks of gains just wiped out. And that was painful, man, because I remember I was sitting there, I was on my own, and the mattress was still on the floor in the living room. And I'm kind of sitting there, and I'm just like, what am I doing, man? Like, what am I doing? This isn't working. This isn't living. I've got my wife and my daughter, and we're sleeping on the fucking floor of her mum's house, flat. And I don't have a job, and I'm trying to do this, and I felt like I was just failing. I was just losing money constantly. And I was just like, fuck, I need to change. Like, something needs to change here, because this is not right. It's not healthy. And I just didn't, I felt like a fucking failure, man. Like a real failure. And it's crazy, man, because that was only 4 years ago. And it's like still really raw to me. So like whenever people talk about like, oh, you've done well, or oh, you've this, and some people seem to think I have a real big ego, and now because you got a bigger account, or you've done well on trading or investing or whatever. But I don't see it that way at all, man. Like I don't, because that feeling of sitting in that flat on my own, just looking at that mattress and thinking, what the fuck is my life right now? And how much I'm failing my family is so raw to me that I think about it all the time. Like I think about it like every single week. So like that's the stuff I think about whenever it's like, oh, he's got an ego, or he's like, oh, well done, you've succeeded or whatever. It's like I don't see it that way. I just don't want to go back to sitting in that room. That's how I feel. So I feel like I'm the same guy, because that feeling is so raw to me still. And it was that moment that I felt like I need to change. I need to change everything I'm doing right now. And it was that day that I text my friend, because I'd left the job back in start of 2017. And I left my job, and my friend still worked there. And I had to text him to see if there was any jobs going there still. And it was like a dead end 9 to 5 job. But I texted him to say, is there any jobs going? Because I need a job. I need a job. Like, I don't know what the fuck's happened to my life, but it's gone downhill. So he texted me back like the next day and was just like, there is something. The woman running the business had come up and talked to her. So I did. So I went and got my job back. And I decided like whatever I was doing in crypto at the time was not working. So I had a different approach. And it was that moment, it was kind of like the catalyst. It was the pain was the catalyst to kind of say, I am going to really throw myself into this now. I am going to try and learn as much as I can. And it was the bug. Like that was the bug that took over me, of just like education, learning, research, everything. Because I knew if I did that, I wouldn't go back to sitting in that room on my own, looking at that mattress, fucking wanting to die, like wanting to cry my eyes out, because I didn't know where my life was. So it was like the bug. And it was at that point that I really started thinking, I'm going to stop scalping, which is, should have done that a while ago, but I stopped scalping. And then it was like, I'm going to really learn TA. I'm going to really learn technical analysis, But most of all, I'm going to really learn research into projects. And my idea was I wanted to hold something for the next bull run that one hadn't been a part of the bear market, but hadn't been a part of the last bull market, sorry, and was extremely undervalued. So that was it. Like that was the catalyst for really trying to learn it all, you know, like trying to, and that's why I talk so much about trying to push down people. You know, it's research. There's no shortcuts here, guys. Like there's no shortcuts unless you happen to buy Shiba at £500 and it goes up to however, you know, top 10, and you've just lucked out on a shit coin. There's no shortcuts. It's time and work and perseverance and commitment and trying to be better every single fucking day. Otherwise, you're not going to make it. That's how I see it. I've been through it. I've tried to do the shortcut way and it didn't work. The only way it did work was committing to it and really trying to better yourself and be better and give yourself an edge over other people, because sometimes that's all you need. It's an edge. It's that little edge to be better than the other person, to get there first, you know? And man, I forgot where we were going with that. That living up to the ramble name right now, because how long have we been talking? 26 minutes. Are you kidding me? Wow, that took 26 minutes to explain. I'm so sorry, guys. But that's the ramble part, right? So yeah, that's kind of where I started. That's kind of where the bug for doing research really took off, because it was time to do it differently. And I think that's kind of like, if I had to give advice, and obviously this is not financial advice, should put that disclaimer at the start. This is not financial advice, but this is not. But if I had to, you know, if someone was to ask me, what would you do if you started again? It would be to understand there are no shortcuts. And if you want to succeed in this space, you have to be better. You have to be better. And you have to be willing to put the time and the commitment to be better. And that is just understanding how to research projects properly. Technical analysis. You could say I don't really believe in technical analysis, but a lot of people do, and that is effective. That is evident on the charts. Like knowing technical analysis and just knowing support and resistance levels, simple things like that. How much price has moved on a project before you jump into it. Understanding market cycles. This stuff matters. It matters, and if you don't understand that, go and understand it. There is so many free resources out there on the internet, guys, that you can understand anything. YouTube is a brilliant resource for just understanding different aspects of charts and candlesticks and technical analysis. And then understanding projects, understanding what would make a project successful. It's simple things like every project has an amazing vision, but do they have the team to pull it off? Do they have the team to pull it off? What's the team's experience? What's the team's background? Is there a problem? What is the problem that they're trying to fix? And is it a problem that needs fixing? And is this a problem that's going to be fixed for 20 people? Is this technology going to be utilized by 20 people, 30 people? Or is it going to be affecting, hundreds or thousands of verticals across the world? And if it is, then all of a sudden, if their TAM, which is their total addressable market, is huge, and this is a technology that can be utilized and can fix those problems, then all of a sudden you have to ask, is this team capable of pulling off this vision and building this technology that can succeed? And obviously there's a bunch of other things like tokenomics and all of the other crap that comes into it. And we'll go into that in the future. Obviously, I would like to open this up to questions. So if people want to ask questions, I will talk about certain things. But this, there's no shortcuts. And I really want to get that across. If you're a newcomer to this space, you can try and cut corners. and I don't mean cut corners as in like, you can cut corners in certain places and be fine. But if you're expecting to do the minimum effort and to rely on other people, you're always going to have limited success. And that's not the sort of person you want to be. You want to be the person who can maximize your gains in this space. And you have to be willing to give yourself that edge over the next person. And that was what I tried to do in 2018. And I'm only really starting to see the fruits of my labor in the last year or two. It takes a long time, and there's no shortcuts. You have to be willing to do it. You have to be willing to do the time. It's like prison. You got to be willing to do the time. And, you know, now I'm only really seeing what I've achieved and through that effort in the last couple of years. With like Quant. Like I invested in Quant in 2018, and it was under $1 at the time. And it's weird because I invested under $1 and it was between 50 cents and $1. And everyone now is like, wow, you're an OG, that's like the best price ever. But I know people who got in at 20 to 50 cents, and those guys to me are like the OGs. Like I know people like Ghost and people like Cyber, who was the eye of Quant back then, and Luke, who invested much lower than I did. And I'm like, I look at them like people look at me, like I'm like, wow, they're the OGs. They got in at an unbelievable price. But then some people say it to me now, and I'm just like, yeah, I don't feel like it though. The only reason I feel like an OG on Quant is because, so that, funny enough, we'll talk about it because I want to talk about it anyway. But like that, I put up a tweet the other day. So someone cryptos Quantfy. Right, so crypto and then with a Z and then Quantfy. So go give him a follow. He asked the question on Twitter: did you sell your Quant at the latest pump or still holding strong? So it was an open question on his Twitter, and I responded, sold at $225. Absolute shitcoin, mate. So that's an insight into the kind of person I am. Some people will take that at face value. Some people take the sarcasm out of that. And the people I'm doing it for is for the people who look at it and know it's sarcasm. I don't care about the other people who are just like, oh my God, I'm so offended by that. It's the people that look at it and go, dreads being a twat. I do it for them people. That's all I'm doing it for. But someone responded, I haven't had a drink in a while. Hold on. Have a little drink. Lovely. So someone responded, it's Crypto Baghdad, which is a great name, by the way. Do some research on Quant. You are extremely uneducated on the subject if you think it's a shitcoin, right? So I responded saying, yes, you are correct. I am extremely uneducated on Quant. And I didn't respond. And I put a tweet out just showing that thread and just put in lol Quant. And a lot of people sort of humor in it. And there's nothing against that guy. It's not to show that guy's an idiot. It's just to show that there are newcomers who come to the space who I just thought it was funny because I've been invested in Quant since 2018 and I understand it better than most people. And to see that comment was just funny to me. But it made me think, like, I am such an OG on Quant now that, I'm so much of an OG that people don't even know that I'm an OG, because there are newer OGs, there are newer people who got into Quant and they got in around like, I don't know, $30, $40, $50 or whatever, or $20. Like your Greg Lunts, Greg Lunt, is it Lunt or Hunt? Lunt, I think it's Lunt. Greg Lunt and other people like that. And they got in, now I can't speak when he got in. He might have got in earlier. No, I have no idea. But he started really putting content out. And people now look at those guys like they're the OGs. They're the OGs of Quant. And they don't even know that I was doing it before them, And that's not like I'm a better. But it's just like I was doing it so fucking long ago that these guys don't even know that I was doing it then, which is funny to me. And it's like it's nicer now because I don't have to do any I don't have to put any effort in really anymore. Now back then there was a necessity to put in that effort for quant. Now not so much. You know, I think a lot of people do it right now because it's obviously they're heavily invested. There's that. But quant will succeed with or without that push and that approach. I honestly believe that. Like quant will just go on to do its own thing. It's institutional adoption, and that's that. But back in the day, like you know, you can say whether they're going to succeed from a crypto approach or an institutional approach, whatever. But back then, their marketing was terrible, like so bad. Their market they had no real online crypto presence. They didn't really know what they were doing, and I know that firsthand from talking to the team. They had no idea what they were doing, and they tried so many different approaches. I in a conversation with Gilbert years ago, a private conversation, um, mentioned that they'd spent upwards of six figures on marketing, and just with you know, it didn't work. Like they were failures. Like they'd spent that money and it's wasted money, and they tried different approaches after different approaches, and none of it was working. Um, and before that, like the reason why I really got started on doing Twitter stuff was because I was heavily invested in quant, and I understood how big of a project it was. Like I understood that this will be one of the biggest projects in the space one day. So I wanted the rest of the world to know about it, and you can call it shilling, you can call it whatever, but I wanted people to know because like someone told me about it and I was like, holy shit, and my mind was blown and I wanted to tell other people. So I was just trying to take the information that was out there and trying to connect the dots and trying to explain it to people on Twitter. Um, but it was out of a necessity because the marketing was so bad in the crypto space for quant. Um, so that was like the need for it, you know. And I think now there's not so much of a need for it because it will just go on to do its thing. Um, but that's so long ago, man. That the new people coming into it, they don't even know who the fuck I am. Like they don't know. Like it's evident. Like this crypto Baghdad guy, like he is invested in quant. He's educated himself on quant, but he don't have a fucking clue who I am. Which is fine. I don't, it's fine. But it's just like I just thought that whole exchange was hilarious. Like it's like me, you know, not knowing about the early Bitcoin investors. It's like me saying to Adam Beck, like, "Oh, you need to educate yourself on Bitcoin because you do not understand it." You know. Well, that's a bit no. That's not necessarily a good example because I believe that Adam Beck is Satoshi. So that would be like me saying I have created quant, which is do not have that brain power. But Adam Beck is Satoshi, guys. So go look that up if you want to know who actually. That's a question. Who the fuck do you think Satoshi is? Maybe I would love to have a conversation with some people about that actually on this show. Who the fuck is Satoshi? Because I have my opinions and I would love to know others' opinions because there's some people who think it's Hal Finney. There's people who think it's Nick Szabo. There's people who think it's a bunch of different guys. I'm of the opinion it's Adam Beck. That's my opinion. But that's a discussion for a different day, I guess. But we are how long are we into this right now? 40 minutes. 39 minutes, 40 minutes. We'll go for a little bit longer. What I would like, okay, let's talk about a little bit about what I would like to see from this show. This is very much going to be the format because I'm enjoying this. It's kind of just like a brain fart, Just get all the information out, and the people who like it will stick around, and the people who don't, we'll cull them early, We'll cull them, we'll cut them out. They're not needed here. We like the people who stick around and enjoyed the rambles. I would like to have people on every once in a while, and we'll ramble together and just keep it real loose and no structure, and we'll just chat. We'll just keep it real funky. I like that sort of approach. And I think it would be probably, I'd like some participation from people listening, you know, like, so I would like questions. Maybe we'll set out some tweets in preparation for shows and say like, look, you got any questions? Chuck them in, and we'll talk about stuff. I'd like even to do some phone in type stuff. That would be cool, you know. Maybe in the Discord, just talking to people who follow us, and you know, community type guys. That'd be really cool, I think. But let me know if you really enjoyed this kind of ramble approach, and give me ideas of cool stuff to do within it. We could talk about news, we could talk about certain things, we could talk about different approaches to, you know, research and stuff like that. Um, but I'm very open minded. I just like to have a platform where I can just kind of express my thoughts. And if people enjoy that, cool. If people don't, doesn't matter. It's not about, you know, becoming the biggest crypto podcast in the world. It's more about just having a platform to just kind of talk. And for the people who enjoy that, that's cool. For the people who don't, it doesn't matter. Um, so yeah, I feel like that was maybe a good introduction to the ramble, and it was very much a ramble. But we'll try and do this every week. What is it today? I'm going to give you a little inside baseball. It's Wednesday. Um, might even try and get this out today. Who knows? Maybe we'll try and do it every. I don't know. Well, I'll figure it out on my own. There's no point. Why am I figuring it out right now? And maybe we'll even start trying to do a live show so we can get some interactions. Yeah, let me know if you think it'd be better to do it live or pre-recorded as well. And I'll yeah, just chuck ideas at me, guys. Chuck ideas. We'll try and make this into something cool. But thank you for listening if you made it this far. And I appreciate you and I love you. And I want to have your babies. So we will speak on the next Bongo Ramble. So have a fantastic week. Be safe. Educate yourself. Try and be better every single day. And I will see you on the next one. Bye.